Hi, everybody. Happy New Year. It's good to see you all. Some of you are veterans of our senior vote program, which we started in 2018 for that amazing election where we were very successful. And so we've done this program during midterms as well as presidential years, where obviously the turnout is much greater than during the midterms. And so we've been kind of refining our plan and our program, but the gist of the senior vote program, just to remind all of you who've done it before and some of our newcomers here, is that our audience are voters who are over the age of 60, who vote regularly, regardless of party. We are not calling Democratic voters per se. Democratic voters are getting millions of calls from Democratic groups urging them to turn out. And for our folks, the older folks, they're the most likely to turn out. They're what people call habitual voters. So we use lists that are, there may be some Dems in the list, some Republicans in the list, but the bulk of the list that we pull from voter files are no party preference or decline to state. And the thing that we do differently is that we are doing persuasion calls and postcards and letters. This is not a one and done kind of phone bank. This is every person who signs up to be a senior ambassador. That's what we call you. And we hope every one of you signs up and that you get at least one more person that is in your club or in your family or your next door neighbor to also sign up. Our goal, it says on your agenda, 250. That's minimum, because the more people we recruit to call and be a senior ambassador, the more people we can reach. And so just to give you an idea of our program, well, first of all, the lists. As you all know, we're very connected to the California Labor Federation. We're kind of the retiree arm, so to speak. And so obviously, when they do their work to make phone calls and get out the vote calls, they are focusing on people who are union members. And their message is a union message. All of these lists that I'm going to talk about and that the Labor Fed uses and many of the groups use, people ask about this all the time. They're all voter lists from Registrar of Voters. And some organizations, the Labor Fed is one of them, but there are many other, have taken those lists and done deep dives into them to try and create the most likely folks who will vote and who will be willing to listen to our message and who meet other target characteristics. Our main characteristics is over 60, but they're regular voters. They've voted in the last several elections. They voted not just on candidate issues, but they always vote on propositions. And you can really dive into and target the lists based on who you're really trying to reach. So right now we are in the process of refining our list development, buying lists with certain targets, and the Labor Fed is going to help us. And to answer Laura Joe's question, they are going to, if we want them, and we do, they're going to give us in these districts the over 60 retired union members, which we can add to our overall list. So we are very coordinated with them and with other unions to put together the best list. And one of the things that those of you who have done this before, I know, have been frustrated with is how poor the phone numbers are on these lists. Because for our folks, especially, they're probably the worst because many of us, I'm in this demographic too, registered to vote 40, 30, 40, 50 years ago, and we still live in the same place. And when we registered to vote, there was no such thing as a cell phone. So the numbers that are listed, often for our older voters, are landlines. You can't text to a landline. But the other reality, and this is for everybody, I mean, my, younger sons and everybody, is that we have been bombarded with spam and scams, seniors especially, getting marketing calls, trying to get us to buy our burial site or, this kind of insurance, or I don't know. And so many people have chosen to not answer their phone, whether it's on a landline or a cell phone, if they don't recognize the number. So, we've added things like postcarding and texting and emailing to make sure we reach these folks. And the key other thing that is way different than any other voter education program that I know of is that if you sign up to be a senior ambassador, you are going to get a list of 100 names. And that is your list through the duration of the election season. You will postcard. We're going to try robo-texting. We're trying to get lists with more information, which you have to pay for. So we have to raise a bunch of money because if you want to have a list that's been updated with more recent phone numbers or possibly emails, there are groups that have been working on doing that, but they've had to put a lot of energy into looking those up through other ways because they're not asked, or they weren't asked for on the original registration forms for older voters. So we have to add that to the list by looking them up in other ways. We want to have as many tools to reach these folks as possible. So each senior vote ambassador, that's what we're going to call you. You now are an official ambassador. Once you sign up, we'll get your list, and you're going to keep that list because you can write notes about what happened when you called or talked to them, what you want to focus on in your next call, etc. All those people are going to be invited to a candidate forum that we're hosting in each of those districts, where the top 2 candidates who win in the primary will be invited to come, and maybe some other races as well. It's not like that's the only race people in your area are going to be focused on. There's the state legislative races, there's local races, and of course there's going to be probably a slew of state ballot measures, which we want to talk to people about. And on ballot measures, just so you know, we do take positions on the ballot measures. We are able to take positions on issues in legislation. We are not set up organizationally to endorse. That's a different thing. But also it gives us the opportunity to say, it doesn't matter what party you are in. What does matter is that we vote for programs that we depend upon, and for someone who's going to be sure to support those programs and not continually vote, like many of these folks have, for privatization and elimination of the very programs that help us live longer and with some security. So our senior vote program is officially going to kick off once right now, our priority is recruiting at least 250 ambassadors. You can pick the district you want to work in out of the 5 that we've mentioned, but if you live in an area that does not have a target district, and more likely than not is going to vote for somebody and already has an incumbent who has voted well on our issues. I live in San Francisco, and I know this is a controversial topic for many San Franciscans, but Nancy Pelosi is going to win the race in San Francisco. And she has voted well on these issues and helped us move that agenda forward. And that is not a congressional race that is going to be worth our senior vote energy. It's not going to change anything there. But I want to take back the House with people who are going to support these issues. So I'm going to work on one of the other 5 districts that needs our help. In addition to the people who live in those districts taking more than likely a list in their own district, they're going to have other responsibilities. You know, we're not going to limit our outreach and education just to the people on our lists. We'll do other phone banking. We'll do outreach and bring, you know, we do a scorecard and show people the difference between the 2 candidates and what their positions are on the issues that we care about. So we're going to share those with folks at senior centers and senior housing and farmers markets and wherever we can go. So that the ground team are our cats. The rest of us are supporting the cats by taking a list and getting other people to take a list. So we're going to start our official congressional outreach in March after the primary, when we know for sure who the candidates are. And we will, if you sign up, you'll get a list. You'll get mailing labels of those people on the list, because the first step is postcards introducing yourself to the people on your list. So this is a relational thing. They're going to see your name, hear your voice, hear see CARA's logo over the course of the election season. And you won't have to do stuff every single day, unless you want to. And we'll have stuff that you can do. But, you know, the first couple months, we're going to be focusing on postcarding. Then we're going to be making our first calls to make sure people got the postcard and introduce them to you. Then we're going to be sending the scorecard and our slate card on the ballot measures. Those come together with finally the invitation to the September candidate event. All the candidate events are going to be in September. We want to do them not too soon, but close enough to when the ballots are going to be mailed, so that people will have all this in their mind. And we're still deciding how we're going to do those forms, virtually, in person, whatever. I mean, that's one of the things we'll be working on over the course of this season. We are doing a few candidate forms based on what the CAT wants to do in February, where there are races, not just congressional, but maybe some local races, where what happens in the primary is going to be very determinant in who winds up in the November election, in state races as well as congressional, and maybe some local races. But our senior vote program is officially focused on Congress. So I kind of went through, you know, what we're going to do and kind of the time frame. So between today and March, when is it? March 5th, which is the primary, we have to raise money and buy our lists and organize our lists and recruit volunteers to be an ambassador. That's our focus right now. And so I wanted to have one of our staff put in the chat the link for the form to sign up to be an ambassador. For those of you who can't access the chat, or you know, just don't want to do it right now and want to do it later, you can find this form. It was sent to you as an attachment with the email for today's event, the one that came from California Alliance, so that you can, you know, fill it out and either mail it in or email your your information. We need your name, we need your address so we can send you the list itself, and some of the other materials and instructions that you'll need. But we have about 25, I think, to 30, maybe a few more recently, folks who have already signed up. We got a long way to go, folks. And remember, the more people who sign up, the more people we can reach. It's just, that's the math. And we have done this senior to senior. So basically you say in your first postcard of introduction, my name is Jodi Ried, and I am a senior just like you. And I'm really concerned about this election. And we have a script. You can use our script. You can edit the script if it's a little too long or not long enough for you, but it has to fit on a postcard. And you sign your name. And if you're willing to give your email or your phone number to the people you're writing, do it. We've have dozens of examples of people who have volunteered, who have been contacted by the voters they're reaching out to. One example, I don't know if Myrtle's on the call today, but I didn't see her name. But one example, she's one of our board members who lives in Richmond, California. And she was writing to to a list that was not in her area. And she signed her name Myrtle Braxton, at the time 93 years old, which now she's 95. And several people were so impressed who received her postcard that a 95-year-old person cared enough to write a personal note saying, we want to be part of talking about the election, that we just wanted to say thank you. People are paying attention to this, and folks in our demographic, they look forward to the mail, but the mail is super expensive. So we have to really pace ourselves on what we're going to mail and what we're going to do by phone or by text or by email, because we just don't have the resources like some of these candidates do to just stuff people's mailbox every day with another campaign brochure. So we've done this enough, and we know what the difficulties are with some of these lists, that we're doing as much as we can to try and buy better lists, more cleaned up lists. Those cost money. So we're also asking folks who have resources to make a donation. You can go to the CARA website, californiaalliance.org, to donate, to find this form to sign up if you haven't been able to access it some other way. To go to the chat. I don't know if the link got put in the chat, but if someone on staff can do that, it would be really helpful. So you can just download it right now. So I just want to see everybody who thinks they're willing to be a senior ambassador in one of these districts, raise your hand right now. Or shake your hands on screen, or put your hand up using the raise hand. Yes, more. We need more. Everybody, raise your hand if you're going to do this. I want to see everybody's hand. Yes. We need you. California needs you. Our siblings in these districts really need you, and the United States needs you. We have got to take back this country. If we want to win on any of our issues, as Bowser or whoever said, we need to have the gavel. And I will say this, even though I hate the idea of even mentioning it, but God forbid we wind up with that man whose name I'm not going to mention, but you all know who I'm talking about. There's a bunch of trials going on about him right now. We have to have a firewall, because what if the worst thing happens, which I am not predicting and I'm not even suggesting, but there has to be a way to make sure we don't lose our democracy. We have to have that firewall. And if we want to if the incumbent wins, we have to have a strong enough Congress to help enact positive legislation. So no matter what, this congressional race needs every one of you. And I urge you to find at least one other person and get them to sign up. This is the month to do it so that we can get you all situated on our senior ambassador list, get our calling list together, send you the stuff. So after the primary, you can get started. And we will send regular notification to all of you when phase one, the postcarding, is over and we move into the next phase. And we'll talk about how you can do calls. We're going to do predictive dialing systems, which make it much easier to reach somebody, as well as other, if you want to just use your own phone and call you on your own time, you're welcome to do it. But we're going to have other systems to make it easier and more successful. We're going to try to do some texting. So this is a big deal. And this is going to be the bulk of our work this year. And we really need you to be a part of it.